because I don't think that, I don't know how much there's going to be to discuss. Without Catherine here, because I think a lot of it was kind of asking Catherine about, as the new ADA coordinator, when I was looking at the meeting minutes, she was going to see if we could get anybody on open ambers here.
Cool.
Okay, it's a little bit, like, pretty good showing. Hello, Amber and Vanessa.
Hi, everyone.
So we have a little bit of a light showing because a lot of people are kind of taking this week off, I'm guessing, with the Bennington Battle Day in the middle, and that includes Amber and Catherine. So I think this is going to be a pretty short meeting, because some of the stuff I think were questions for Catherine were about getting some people, reaching out to DW Department of Public Works and some other places, and I just was trying to see if we had any updates from the mayor's office about that. Yeah, it seems that's the case. We're going to keep this meeting short just because it both sounds like both you and Ethan are, kind of playing double duty. So just really quickly, in terms of updates, I don't think there's anything in terms of updates as far as this committee. In terms of reaching out to, I did find some information about the ADA coordinator that I'm going to send to Catherine, that should be posted. And I also think, like, some of the stuff says that when an ADA coordinator is posted, it should probably not only posted under HR, but also under general public. So that is something that we should probably see if Catherine could do to get her position posted as and it's basically ADA coordinator for contact information on it. And I did notice that under her title, she was not put down as an ADA coordinator. Amber, you had your hand raised?
Yeah, so this is one of the things I actually touched base with Vanessa on afterwards, and I had thought about sending Catherine some information about kind of the role of the ADA coordinator. It stood out to me when she asked Laura to rewrite the messaging on there to make it a little bit more user friendly. That we shouldn't be in a position, I think, to do that. I think we can definitely check to see what she's done, but there's some specific guidance as to what's really supposed to be out there, for the public to see, that comes from the ADA standards.
Yeah.
So I wanted to run it by you all before we shared it, because I didn't want to, I want to be mindful of kind of Catherine's role, and I don't want to step on toes and all that. So
no,
yeah.
I totally agree with you. So Amber, if you want to forward that on, that would be fantastic as a suggestion to Catherine. If you could just CC me in that. I honestly just found some things online. It was basically just a thing, but I know, given what you're doing at UVM, you would probably have a much better, ability to write. So if you're willing to forward that on, that would be great.
Yeah, I think maybe Nate, I might share with you what I'm thinking about sending, or maybe share it with you and have it come kind of from the committee as like, here's some information to support you, kind of thing. If so, I don't know, maybe we can connect on that.
Okay,
Great.
That's good.
Thanks.
And other news, I did want to let you know with training, it's actually interesting. After I think at the last meeting, we mentioned the thing with the single pebble with the service dog. Well, single pebble actually reached out to VCIL, and a couple of weeks ago, we actually did a service dog training to the management and owner of single pebble, and we were able to really put together a good kind of training material around. Okay, I'm going to. And training material around service animals and public service. So we created a pretty big update to our to a slideshow. So I figured that would be something as we establish the, kind of trainings for the public or even trainings to, um, state employees, that might be something to add. Plus, if anybody wants to see it, we'll be happy to share it. Bye, buddy. I'm working from home today, and my wife and son just came in. So um, that was just a little update I had regarding the materials to send. About some training materials. It looks like we may have some fresh new materials for service dog training, which might be a good thing to try to get out to the Burlington business community. Other than that, I don't know really what we could provide for updates for future, other than, establishing for the next meeting. And working on I did not get a public announcement out there, but I will definitely work on that. I went on vacation twice after the this work, so I did not get a chance to get the announcement out for the upcoming meetings in September. So I think the idea would be to put it through the what was it called? What was the name of the place, Ethan, that does the announcements? Do you remember? It was an acronym, DPE or something like that, or
Sorry, I was writing things down.
Yeah.
Are you talking about the NPAs?
yes, yeah. So I'll work on getting those out for the upcoming meeting, and also getting general invitations out that can be put on the in terms of like front page forum and those places, so we can get the meetings out to the public. I did want to ask, did all of you have to register to get into this meeting? So when you get on the link that I sent, you all had to register? Like you got linked, then you registered, and then you sent it back? Okay,
I had to put my name in, but there wasn't like anything beyond that, like registration. I'm not sure if it's the same thing.
did you just click on the link and show up to the meeting, or did you have to go through something?
I had to go through a process of putting my name in and then being let
Okay.
into the meeting.
Okay, so that's what we set up for security purposes. And we'll see if that works. I think we wanted that, so the purpose was so we can see ahead of time who was coming in, to prevent being Zoom bombed, I think. But I just want to make sure that was working adequately. So hopefully we'll get that out. Amber, if you want to go, we can go back and forth with me, or we can, go through the whole group. Or maybe what we could do is we could go through and work on something, and then we can review it as a group at the next meeting, which might be a good idea.
Okay, yeah, I just kind of feel like I'd like for you all to be aware, like what we're communicating and sharing, and just making sure it's supporting Catherine and her overall efforts, and not,
Yeah.
just,
Yeah.
yeah. So,
Yeah. So how about we do that? We can just look at Catherine, because I did tell Catherine that I would get her some stuff. I did find some stuff about where it should be labeled, and also basically an overview of the responsibilities of an ADA coordinator. And this is more of a general, kind of search that I found. But I think we can kind of work with her and kind of mold it to be more for the city of Burlington. So maybe that's something we can add to the agenda for the September meeting.
okay.
That is pretty much what I have to discuss. Like I said, it was really more about getting things established with the coordinator position and getting some people out. I will send a reminder out, just a heads up to Catherine, to see if we have anybody in line at DPW, or I think Sophie also suggested somebody from RE. I can't remember what the acronyms were, but
Racial equity, inclusion, and belonging.
Yeah.
REIB.
okay.
I know
So-
right now the department is going through a large change in terms of their leadership and challenge to get folks, but I'm happy to have that conversation with their interim director too, if that helps.
Okay, okay. Yeah, and then we'll have somebody from the school board. I think that was some part of that. And I have been planting some seeds with some people who live in the Burlington area to get some more of the community involved. I just haven't had anybody jump up and say yes yet, but hopefully we can get somebody from the greater community to be part of the committee. That is really the only updates I have. If anybody else has anything they would like to bring up or comments, questions, or anything, please feel free to chime in.
One other question I had, I noticed right before I hopped on here that there was the email, was that from Sarah, that about the playground? Is that the thing you were mentioning earlier on? I don't know, she said that there was a playground that was recently or was about to go in that only had a couple of accessible features, I think, and she was wanting this committee to review plans before. Oh, Callahan Park, I see Vanessa
Callahan
just
Park,
put it into the chat.
yeah.
Yeah, that before they went forward, and so I just wanted to check in on that.
Oh yeah, well, here's John is coming in as well. So I am wondering about that. I also know that there's been some things with the Oak Ridge Park, and actually John's coming in, so perfect person to come in. Hello, John.
How you doing, Nate?
Good. You swooped in. You swooped in on a moment just as we were discussing park stuff.
Well, I thought you might be, and there was the meeting announcement was forwarded to me by Cindy, and Sophie, who I believe normally attends,
Yeah.
is still on vacation, so definitely here to listen on her behalf.
Well, at the last meeting, we believe Sophie had mentioned some plans for Callahan Park, and I don't know if that was something to discuss, but I also know since the last meeting there were, and I know there have been things, I just haven't been around with it about the Oak Ridge Park stuff. So I don't know if you wanted to give any updates. I don't know if there's anything to discuss about Callahan Park or anything that this committee may be able to do to help, help with putting together those parks or even review the plans for Callahan Park.
Okay. And you mentioned Oak Ledge as well. Do you want me to discuss both
I
projects?
think if you want to give an overview, that would be great. Yeah.
Sure. Well, I guess I can do that briefly at the outset, and really happy to report that after 8 years of tireless work from advocates like yourselves and the Oak Ledge for All group, we will be initiating construction on about a $700,000 universally accessible playground at Oak Ledge. It will be phase 2. Phase 1 has been in the ground for about 3 years now. And that is a project that I will manage. I think you are primarily interested. I know we've received communications from Sarah Carpenter, and I believe, what is the name of the person who I'm thinking of, who's a parent of, her name will come to me. Anyway, some concern maybe about the equipment at Callahan. And that project is underway. Right now, I was just there a couple hours ago. That is being managed by our other project manager. His name is Max Madalinsky. And there are a couple pieces of ADA compliant equipment within that assemblage, but at least initially there will not be any playground surfacing or connective walkway systems. Those will come together as the comprehensive plan is implemented over the course of the next few years. I don't know if you all were familiar with that process that we wrapped up late winter, early spring. and have a brand new plan that is really accessibility focused, at least in part for a new vision for Callahan.
Okay, great. Is there anything this committee could do to provide feedback or being a part of anything or help with
Well,
advocacy?
Nate, I can't remember if you were part of the group when I used to attend meetings, oh, I don't know, 6 or 7 years ago. I would, I'm just reading that comment there from Ethan. I would welcome a stronger relationship between our projects and your review. And as I said years ago, I would love to see this group have a stronger presence in reviewing projects. You know, some of our boards and commissions have a reputation for being, you know, really tough to get through. And I would love to think that this group could be one of those. I think it was not set up initially to have that kind of oversight of projects kind of power, but it's the kind of thing that I think we need. We need everyone out there to help us advocate for accessibility. And I would certainly welcome, I know that Sophie's presence in the group is very deliberate, and it's an attempt and a commitment, really, I think, that we've made for the past few years to have a tight relationship between this group and at least the planning division of the Parks Department. I think before that we had Emma Allen was a Parks representative in this group. And I'd certainly be interested to hear any feedback anyone has about how you could see things being done differently.
Well, I think from what we've been trying to determine as this committee has been kind of off and on and then off again, is really establishing a methodology about how we can. So right now we have been, you know, Sophie has taken over for Emma, and she's been great. And I think it's a little bit of a different. She brings a different part to it because she's bringing a lot more of the um, planning infrastructure of like what's going on with making the new parks, which I think is something we haven't really had before. I think it's just us trying to determine a method in which how this committee can be involved about, you know, when these incidents come up for us to review any plans and provide our feedback on that. And I think a lot of it has kind of been, oh, this is going on this time, and I think we've been getting it individually. So I think what would really be really helpful was for us is to, you know, get some kind of structure we could be involved in the process, rather than, you know, maybe just getting an email saying, oh, by the way, this is happening at this time. You know what am I making sense by saying that? I also don't want us to add a lot of extra bureaucracy to the process as well, you know.
No, but Nate, I think I personally think that that's warranted, and I don't think this issue should be a courtesy. I think it should be a mandate. And just like the Planning Commission and the Development Review Board and others across the city have a mandate to enforce municipal codes and zoning ordinances and such, I would certainly like to see this group elevated. It seems like you have a strong advocate on the council in Sarah. And based on what I recall, I don't know what, if anything has changed in the past few years. I don't really see anyone here that I remember from a number of years ago in terms of membership. But you know, I think when this was set up, it was set up as an advisory.
It is, yep.
And maybe there's a way, and I would certainly welcome a way to make that relationship stronger. But I think in many ways it needs to be taken to the next level where any given project, and I would certainly welcome that with our projects, needs to be reviewed and approved. by this body. I think in order to do that, this group probably needs, I don't know what the knowledge base is on ADA and universal design within the group, but Nate, when you mentioned how things have changed a little bit between Emma and Sophie, certainly they come from different backgrounds, but rather than have it come down to individual people, I would just love to see that this mandate and this oversight was consistent regardless of who's involved at any given time, and that we could all trust that every project would come out the end of the pipeline with a very high level of accessibility built into it from the get-go.
Yeah, thank you. So we still are an advisory committee, and I don't believe the mayor, we've been, right now, what we've been really doing is reestablishing ourselves with the mayor's office. So we, like, for example, we have now established an official ADA coordinator, who is Catherine Schaub. And now we're trying to get new memberships on board to provide us with more influence on the advisory part. So after Martha Keenan
Okay.
left, we need to get somebody from Department of Public Works onto the committee to help us have
Yep.
official. I don't know. I don't know if we'll be at the point where we'll be somebody to mandate and review. I mean, I certainly have some background in ADA. I have done a lot of training in ADA and universal design. I don't know if we have anybody officially in that point, but I definitely would like us to be more involved in the process, at least from at first an advisory point of view, to just being able to look at something and then maybe reaching that point at some point. I think right now our focus is, in this committee, and as you were first here, we had people part of different parts of the representing different areas. So we had somebody from the school board, we have somebody from public works, we had somebody representing a business in the area, and then we had different areas. So we would hear different viewpoints from people on accessibility, and that's really gone up and down recently. So right now, that's what we're trying to establish. But Sarah Carpenter has definitely been a big advocate for, more feedback about the accessibility of the parks.
Yeah. Is there any specifics about the Callahan projects that we want to talk about? Any questions that people have about that as it comes together here? I'm going to just look at the chat to see if anyone.
I would just, so when is that supposed to break down ground?
It's being constructed right now. I was just there about an hour ago. I think Vanessa put all of
Yeah, I'm looking at it.
theirs, and I just want to read through that.
Just to give credit, I did try to. Ethan ultimately was the one who dropped the content. You also have
thank
the
you.
email.
Also have what?
You have the email in your inbox as well. I just forwarded it while this conversation was happening.
Okay, so that's the same email which I had read before coming into the meeting. So I guess I am up to speed, and I think in honesty I can say that I wish Callahan's playground design was more rigorous in its pursuit of accessibility, and some of that will come in time with development of infrastructure that will circulate to and within the playground. And then at the other end of the spectrum, we've got Oakledge, which is like from the ground up, born from a commitment to universal accessibility, which is a really different approach.
Yeah, so I am, without seeing the plans, and actually, a lot of this you can't judge. My experience has been, you can't really judge until you visit the park itself. But when I think of things being more universal, not following ADA, is if there's, for example, and I think the Oakland did a pretty good job of this. If you have a ramp leading somewhere and they want to make it quote ADA specific, kind of go beyond that, kind of make it a little wider, kind of make the flow a little bit easier, or make the paths a little bit wider. So people with mobility devices and their companions can walk side by side without, having something like that, or surfacing. And a lot of that is kind of judging after it's made, because ADA is, quote, a general standard of accessibility. So
And ADA is the law.
yeah,
And I think we can look around at everything that happens here, and I don't think it's universally applied, or I don't think it's universally enforced. And unfortunately, Nate, it often comes down to this individual person cares or knows, or this particular inspector took a course in it or whatever. And I think what we want to move towards is it just being standard. And then it's a standard that we don't go below. And I think it's, I mean, obviously if it's the law, it's the law, but like at Oakledge, there's nothing obviously that goes below ADA, and everything really strives to be beyond it, such that you don't even notice that it is like X% accessible. It's all that way. So yeah, I'm wondering if it would help. I'm gonna check what we've got. I mean, I know this project is up on our website, and again, Nate, I'm not sure if you would feel by looking at a rendering of it, how thoroughly your group could assess it, but
yeah, I could certainly look at it. I do wonder about certain things after the fact, and I don't want to, I just want to make sure that there's certain areas, like I'm just trying to think. And again, it's very hard to look at the plans without looking at the after the fact that it is done.
okay.
We can
Well, do
render,
you
but if it's in the rendering of the project, we can certainly look at it to provide some feedback. I think that would be the best bet to do.
Would
And
this, would the whole group like me to pull that up on our website if I can?
we can certainly do that. I know we had a plan. Is the other members of this committee? I know we said we are going to keep this short, the people busy, but if other people are open to it, we can certainly try to take a look at it. Or if other members of the committee kind of felt like this is out of their purview. Any thoughts from the other members of the committee?
Well, so this is Amber. So John, I'm the ADA coordinator at UVM, and I've been a member of the group for a little while here.
Yep.
I'm just curious, like if we put, is there an opportunity at this point to shift the design plans or to change the construction plans at all?
I wouldn't, I don't know at this point. I know that we kind of maxed out our budget and everything is ordered, and basically in the process of being installed. I would welcome to hear from you, Amber, just like how does UVM's process work? I know that the Oakledge for All group, Julia Wayne and myself have presented, I think, to your group or something maybe a few years ago, but I'm just curious, how do you get involved in UVM projects? Are they reviewed at the plan level by yourself and any staff? And are they inspected for compliance after the fact?
Yeah, so there's multiple phases to the plans, and those things are all coordinated through physical plan or planning, design, and construction. So
Yep.
I myself am not like an individual person who has to review things ahead of time, but it really is.
Yep.
Sometimes I'll come in and consult on different kind of plan details, or get involved in remediation projects and things like that. But there isn't as clean of a process as there really needs to be going forward. But most of the responsibility falls to the folks that are the architects on site, or the project coordinators who also have ADA compliance experience.
Yeah.
So it really is, I mean, it's something I think kind of to Nate's point, where having this committee, this volunteer committee serve as a proxy for that, I would be really careful about that. And I'm not sure if that's what you know, Sarah's email was kind of indicating, but I think that needs to really fall to like professional designers and architects, and then having a committee that has interest or lived experience or things to offer through just sharing ideas and practices and best practices is good. But I wouldn't want to position a volunteer committee in doing that level of work, because it really is it's a professional field. It really should be falling to the architects and designers to do that.
I do think I'm just kind of thinking at this point, seeing as the construction is underway, and that's not like stuff could be a screeching halt. I think my feedback would be is maybe after things are done, maybe we arrange a tour. Maybe members of this committee could come and take a live tour of the parks, and it is on, and then maybe look at it and provide feedback. I think I'm kind of thinking doing something like that in that sense would be a better sense, and say, and obviously we're not going to tell you to tear something, we can't tell you to tear something down and rebuild it, but it might be little adjustments here or little adjustments there to being accessible. I think that is, to me, that would be, suggestions on these things. That to me would be the most reasonable, I would think. For that's my view. I don't, at this time, and maybe going forward, thinking of ways that we could be more involved in the process in the future. Because I know this isn't the first time we've had this discussion, and then I know we've had people leave and change, and things change, and right now we're still in the midst of kind of firming up this committee again. That's my feeling, is find a kind of arrange a tour date for the committee members to come, and along with some other people could take a look at it.
Yeah. Yeah, I would think that would be a really good practice to get into the habit of reviewing things at the plan stage. Amber, I certainly respect your comment about going beyond advisory and being beyond professional footholds. And maybe not, maybe this group doesn't become that, but if you do look at our other commissions, they are comprised of volunteers. A lot of them come from professional backgrounds like architects, engineers, etc., planners, and their decisions do hold professional credibility. I mean, some would probably debate that, but there is I want this issue to have stronger foothold than it does. I want you or whomever to be holding our feet to the fire to just make sure this is always on our mind. I think our process of 8 years of planning at Oakledge has really opened at least a couple pairs of eyes that see this issue everywhere they look, and really believe in it, but it needs to go beyond just a couple of personalities that have particular leanings in one direction or the other. So I don't know how that looks, and I don't know, that this group wants to travel there, but I would certainly welcome a cooperative and collaborative and sharing environment. And in many ways, I think you could help us advocate within our department how we spend money and how we do projects like this Callahan Playground.
So John, when is it's always, hard to project, but when is the Callahan Park project expected to be finished?
I suspect, well, I know that we've got a date on the calendar for the 24th to spread mulch underneath, and I think that probably describes very well a project that's not exactly accessible. But I know on the 24th, we'll be ready to do that, which means all the equipment will be installed. Right now, they started today putting up the equipment, and I think it's expected to last no longer than a week.
So maybe at a future meeting, we can arrange a date sometime in September or something like that. Do you think that would be enough ground for it to be finished, or is that sometime do that to have a future group maybe come and take a look at it or something like that.
Yeah, I think that's enough time, and I would welcome, we can help you coordinate that, and I think we can help you decide who should be there.
Okay.
And the mom that I'm thinking of, I think her first name might be Stacy. I know that she's the mother of a child who has,
I know you're talking about, and I can't remember her name either.
yeah, okay.
I got it. But I can also think of other members of the community who could.
Oh,
maybe
sure,
we
yep.
come.
Yeah,
So maybe that's something we can arrange in the near future. Just out of curiosity, are there any other, I know you guys have been doing projects like crazy. Are there any other new projects coming up in the future that we could be providing feedback
yeah,
on?
and I think that the meeting on a regular basis, and I think Sophie was probably bringing forth our project schedule so that there could be some foreshadowing and an opportunity to review. There'll be a full-on redevelopment of what's referred to as Champlain Street Park. It's essentially a residential lot on South Champlain Street, just down the street from August 1st. That should have a very good universal accessibility, at least in terms of park infrastructure built from the ground up, no stairs, nothing steeper than 5%. There is a small playground going in. There could be possible, I don't know that that's designed at this point, but more advocacy placed towards accessibility. Trying to think of what else we've got. We also do a lot of projects in public buildings, like the Miller Center, like City Hall. I can't think of any because I'm not directly involved, other than Oakledge restrooms. We'll be doing the second set of restrooms in conjunction with the playground. Of course, that is also kind of from the ground up, has a big focus on universal accessibility.
Okay. Okay. Well, maybe we can certainly be involved in future things like that with the restrooms on the Champlain Street, one of Champlain Street that you mentioned.
Yeah. And Nate, I love the idea that we would do tours. I mean, once a project is done, there's not a ton that can be changed about it. But I know in the middle of construction projects, I've called upon people to test things. Trying to think of the well-known hand cyclist who lives on Killarney. His name is
Patrick Sandon.
Yep, he helped me lay out the Killarney access to make it negotiable by hand cycle. The architect Cleary Buckley has helped me with the bike tool centers that we put along the bike path to make sure that from a wheelchair you can reach, the cables are long enough to get to where you need them and things like that. So I love that idea. And then I also love the idea that we would have you test drive recently completed facilities for feedback and hopefully celebration of successful work.
Well, it would also be nice to get some other people with other disabilities, like maybe some people who are blind or some people who have other sensory disabilities to get that. So,
yep. And certainly something we tried to incorporate into the playground, but again, there is that kind of wide spectrum of disabilities, and some are more out in front of our attention than others, and it's hard to know about everything.
All right, thank you. Does anybody else have anything, questions or comments for John? All right. If not, does anybody else have any other thing they would like to discuss?
What I'll do, Nate, and the group is I'll leave the meeting, and on the way out, I'll put a link to where you can read more about the Callahan Playground on our website.
That'd be great.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, everyone, for your
Yep.
time. I'm glad I popped in and got to be a part of this
John,
discussion.
also one thing you should know is we do post meeting minutes. We now have the accessibility committee. So just, I'm sure Sophie will be here. I know she was like, a lot of people are on vacation this week due to
Yeah.
the ever famous Bennington Battle Day tomorrow
Oh,
coming up.
yes. I forgot.
We have our, we meet on the third Monday of the month and we post meeting minutes. So, this discussion, and we might have a link to the plan. I suggest we have a link to the plan in the meeting minutes, just so, if people read the minutes, they can also get a hold of that. So
That sounds great. Well, thanks for the good work you're doing, and I certainly appreciate it. And like I said, I'll grab that link, and you'll see Sophie, I think, next month.
all right, thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Okay, anybody have anything they would like to discuss? I will say, I agree with Amber. I definitely think we should be available to provide feedback and some things and maybe look over things. I don't think this committee was never created to be we're an advisory committee. I have my share of ADA knowledge, but I'm certainly not an architect or anything like that. So I know that's kind of might be an issue with the mayor's office. I think we should be strictly advisory, just providing our feedback. But I do like the idea of, having certain people come take looks at things before and after to do feedback. Any questions or comments before we adjourn?
After that experience, Nate, I think maybe at the next meeting, it'd be lovely to talk more about like what our charge is and how we got it, and kind of what, so we can kind of contain like our efforts some and put them toward a focus, because that felt so much like maybe there's a missing kind of procedural piece going on. And I guess I'm thinking about how do we fulfill our goals without inadvertently like kind of allowing certain things that need to be taken care of at the administrative level not to be taken care of. You know what I mean? Like not filling a role that's not really ours to fill.
I agree. And I also think that, one of the things of the committee is, number one, always getting people to join, but also kind of keep us focused. Because I think if we
Mhm.
spread ourselves too thin, that's where people go off. And I really appreciate John for coming. I think it was great to get that feedback. But right now, when I'm thinking of this committee, I think we really want to, for the time being, focus on education and procedural stuff, like making sure, we get the ADA coordinator responsibilities and duties straightened out and place to go for those issues, as opposed to, providing advice on infrastructure, things that are solid brick and mortar stuff. I think that's where maybe this committee does do. I'm fine with taking looks at maybe before and afters and providing some informal advice, but I'm not an architect. So, I think in that sense it is, that's where we kind of need to have our focus on. Okay. All right. Well, this short meeting ended up going almost 45 minutes. So thank you for everyone. Ethan, John put the link in there. So if you can add that to the minutes, I will also send you the recording as well. As always, I'm posting these on my, nifty private YouTube page. So if, people can access them, and we'll work on getting this announcement out to more to the public for the September 19th meeting. All right, everyone. Thank you for attending. Bye.
All right, thank you all.